Okay, so hello everybody. This is Tech Podcast. Welcome to the Tech Podcast of TransData. So you are watching the episode 2 of season 2 and we are in conversation with Mr. Andrew. So hi Andrew, how are you?
Good morning. It's great to be here. Thanks for having me on the show. I really appreciate it. Looking forward to the
Thank you so much.
conversation.
Thank you so much for coming. So let me introduce Mr. Andrew Ben O'Shea. He is the Director of Operations and Partner Relations for Holcom, a leading voice talent studio and digital content provider with over 30 years of experience at Holcom. Andy provides strategic leadership for our marketing and social media team. He is also responsible for channel partner development and online e commerce sales with a concentration in customer contact related synergy, which includes foreign language training, voice, and video production.
What
So,
don't I do, right? It's everything.
exactly. So, with you here as a host of this show, this is Osama Sumro, and let me introduce myself as well. So, I am Osama Sumro, a marketing professional having hands on experience in digital marketing as well, and a strong technical background. I am currently working as a digital marketing manager at TransData. So let me ask you, Andrew. So we will be talking about Andrew's career journey from the start till now. What were the challenges were you facing from the start?
When we were preparing for this episode, and I was thinking about some of the topics we were talking about, and we're going to touch a little bit on the customer journey and journey mapping today. And I was
Mhm.
thinking back to my first job when I first started out of school. I was an on-air personality at a radio station. It was an adult contemporary radio station. I was on the air. It was music. They had some news. WSUL in Sullivan County, and they had adult contemporary music. And I was young and dumb and didn't know any better. And that was kind of my first exposure into marketing because I was writing and producing, radio commercials, and I loved it. It was great. Um, Shortly after I got promoted to the music director, they wanted me to update the music on the station. So I started putting stuff that I liked, right? And very quickly I was like, well, we should really find out what the listeners want. So I stole this idea from a rock station in New York, WNEW. They used to do this countdown of 5,000 songs or whatever it was over a Fourth of July weekend. So I was like, we should do the same thing. So I put together this awesome marketing plan, and I had it built in for the sales department so they could sell to their major sponsors and drive traffic into their stores. And we were going to get all this data feedback from the listeners because they were going to go in and put what songs they liked the most. And I presented it to ownership, and they go, yeah, no, we don't want to do that. And I was like so deflated. And I was like, what do you mean you don't want to do that? Like, don't you want to know what your listeners want to hear? So a unique thing about this radio station in the Catskills, think Dirty Dancing, right? That's where it took place, up in the Catskills. So this is the suburbs of New York City. So in the summer, there's a tremendous, like, millions of people come up for the summer vacation there. So they do have to cater to that New York City market. But during the off season, there's all the locals there. So, my thought was, at least during the off season, we should be playing stuff that's a little bit more in kind what they would want to hear. And they just kind of shut it down. And they were actually afraid that they were going to want music that wasn't adult contemporary. And I was like, but that's what you want to know. That's what the customer wants. And from that moment on, I was like, I'm out of here. I can't deal with an organization that just won't recognize how important the end user is. And then a few years later, so that was kind of like my first stumbling block. I was like, how can we move forward as a radio station if we don't know what they want? And then a few years later, I landed at Holdcom, and I was really excited because what Holdcom had was this diverse client base, right? We have from small businesses to medium-sized businesses to enterprise global businesses. And that was exciting to me because there was all different types of personas that you were dealing with. The way that you would talk to a doctor's office or an auto supply store or a mortgage brokerage house versus how you would talk to the Metropolitan Opera or Radio City is very different, right? You're going to attract those customers differently, and you're going to communicate with them differently. So, that I was glad to see when I got to Holdcom that they were embracing this idea of we have to like fractionalize and have personas to approach those different markets. So yeah, I think as much as my career has been going, the customer journey has always been kind of in that background.
Yeah, definitely. You should have kept whenever you are creating a content. User experience is number one priority, and with that, what your customers like to read, what they want to hear, what they want to listen. That is the first thing that you want to think about when you're creating content. Like if nobody's interested in that, then what you're gonna do? Like
Right,
there will be no traffic. There will be nobody on your website.
right.
So yeah, so
Content
that's
is
the
king.
exactly, content is king, and consistency as with
Yeah,
persistence.
for
So
sure.
yeah, let's talk about the customer journey.
Mhm.
Yeah, when a user lands on a website, on a homepage, and a specific landing page with some offers, specific offers, so what is the better approach, like let them coming to the homepage, or
So
to some specific offer landing page?
yeah, I think before we actually talk about the website or the landing page, we really need to
Mhm.
talk about how we drove them there, right? So
Exactly.
was it an ad? Was it an email? Maybe there was a QR code on a brochure or on a refrigerator or something that was next to their product. Or maybe it was just organic search, right? So those are different, those are all very different scenarios. With an email or a QR code or direct marketing, you're controlling that message, right? So you're warming up the prospect or the visitor before they get to that landing page or that website, and you can kind of key off some topics. But with an ad, you're limited, right? So you have to kind of be focusing on what are your search terms, so that you're attracting the right person. And then organic, right? That's a whole nother conversation because that really gets into your SEO and your
Mhm.
inbound marketing strategy and how you're optimizing your content because you have the least amount of control in how you're bringing them to the page. Um, I mean, I could give you an example. We're currently working on a healthcare landing page for our organization, and we've done some deep dives. And I encourage everybody to just you need to do research. You need to understand what who your visitors are.
Mhm.
And what we learned in our research is that the marketing departments at hospitals, they're completely overwhelmed. Everyone is coming to them for everything, whether it's a sign, whether it's a brochure, whether it's a radio ad. So what we're looking to do is educate the marketing departments on a concept that we call domino content. And this is the idea of creating a pillar of content that can be recycled into other pieces of content. So for us, that's message on hold, right? So in a message on hold program that somebody's hearing when they're placed on hold, there's going to be 5 or 6 different pieces of content that are within that message. Those could easily be repurposed into a social post, into a long form blog, into a radio announcement or something like that. So, what we're really going to be focusing on that landing page is their pain, right? That you're overwhelmed, and we're going to address that within the landing page.
Yeah, definitely. And so, whenever a user comes on a landing page, so if they see a contact form in front of them,
Mhm.
so is that a good practice? And are you sure that they will convert? What's the surety?
Yeah, so it's kind of hard. All landing pages aren't the same, right? You have all different
Mm,
types of products. Something's a physical product, something's a service. So there's no, I think, hard, fast rule about landing pages. And I think a lot of people think, yeah, if I have some content in a form, I'm okay. But what we look at is there's probably about 5 elements that every landing page should have. And when I say every, but again, in general, you may have to make exceptions here, but the most important thing is your unique selling proposition, right? Another thing would be what we call the hero image or hero video. Um, you need to cover some of your benefits of the offer. You need to have social proof, and you need to have a call to action. So we can dig into those a little bit. When with the USP, the unique selling proposition, that's your headline, right? And then you probably want to have a supporting line under that that supports that line. And then if you're going to have long form content, you may need to revisit the unique selling proposition again to kind of reinforce that, because people's eyes are going to scan the page. And then again, you may have a closing statement that reinforces the USP. But the image, I mean, this is it. This is the money shot, right? So if you're selling ice cream, you want to have the most delectable ice cream cone that somebody, you want to bring a human into it, you want to bring your customer into it, someone engaging with your product. If you're selling software, you want to have the latest computer with the coolest cityscape background office, right? You really want to boost the look and view. You want to grab people's attention with that hero image. And then your benefits, when we talk about benefits, it's really your value proposition, the features. But again, you don't want to put everything in there, right? Less is more. You want to key in on what some of those key things are. Social proof. When we talk about social proof, that's your customer endorsements. Maybe it's a testimonial. Maybe it's a list of logos of people using your product, or maybe it's some reviews that people have given. And then the last one would be CTA, right? Your call to action. You have to drive people to the next step, but keep it short, right? And don't use the click here or submit. You want to kind of put a buzzword there. You want something like free trial, 50% off, something that grabs their attention. So those would be the things that I would recommend that are going to help with the page converting better.
Yeah, but no, not everybody is interested in 50% off offer.
Right.
Somebody wants the quality rather than cutting the price.
Right. Well, and all those things, you really need to have A/B. You need to A/B them, right? You need to do some testing and
Yeah.
try some different things, different words, different placement of things. It's really going to make a big difference in how the users react to that. There's a really good article on Benchmark One by Gianna Barrett, and it's called "The Science Behind a High Converting Landing Page." It's a really good article. I recommend you check it out. There's other things on like HubSpot or Marketing Props, but what I liked about her article is similar to what we just went over. She kind of outlines 5 elements to include: people, right? So that's the picture element, the
Mhm.
call to action we talked about; flow, which I'll explain in a minute; mobile; and value proposition. And what I really liked is she had case studies for each one of those things. So if you want, we could kind of walk through these so people can understand. 37 Signals is a organization. They have a high-rise brand. They increased their conversion over 102% just by changing from a small picture to a large picture. And they were able to test that it didn't matter if it was a man or a woman or what ethnicity they were, as long as it was a customer using their product. And they also, through their A/B testing, were able to tell that short form, having a shorter, less dense landing page, performed better than long form. When we talk about CTA, there's a great case study that they covered on there. DeWalt had a call to action button, and they were convinced that Shop Now was less intrusive and less threatening than Buy Now. And when they tested them, Buy Now outperformed by 17%. So, we have these perceptions that we bring to it, and we're like, oh, well, we've done this before, and this is what worked before. It may not be the case.
Yeah, what I think is when we are creating a landing page, there should be least possible scrolling on a landing page. Each
Yes.
content, well, when a user is coming from a source like from a Google search, or you is coming from a Google ad or social media ad, so when it lands on your landing page with a specific offer, the same content, same relevant content should be available on your landing page
Yeah.
in front of them with the CTA. And you can also put a contact form if you want them to submit that
Yep.
for the
Yep.
information. Yeah,
Yeah.
right
Uh,
before they rise.
One of the things I found interesting in her article, which I've seen before, is this idea of flow. And the reason that they call it flow is because the human reads the page in an F format, right? They come from the left,
Yeah.
they go to the right, they come down, then they go across, all right? And that's how they go through the page. So, that's very important to keep in mind, because you want to kind of follow that You want to put the important pieces where that eye is traveling to. And the other thing that we like to do is we like to keep what, the old newspaper above the fold, right? So that preview pane that you're looking at has 99% of your
Mm.
content on there. If you make it too long, and people just don't want to scroll. And again, mobile, you have to have a mobile site. I don't know if anybody is not building a mobile site these days, but it has to perform well on your phone. Otherwise, what are you doing? Everybody's viewing everything on their phone these days.
Yeah, and 80 to 90% of the audience comes from the mobile phones.
Yes, right, correct.
Yeah.
So, I think those are, a lot of the key elements there. And the value proposition, you got to explain to people what's your differentiator, what's the value, why should they care, right? And it should address their pain point.
Yeah, definitely. You're absolutely correct. So, what are the most important things that should be kept in mind to make them convert?
Well, we got to address their pain, right? We need to show them in a simple way. Not everybody tries to put too many words on the page, right? So be brief, but key in on what their pain is and how this product's going to solve that pain. And I think bringing in examples, whether it's testimonials or reviews, where you're seeing other customers reviewing it and saying, this solved my problem. This was the best. This company really, even though I had an issue, they took care of it. Like that customer service and the quality of the product, that's gonna help it convert. And on the form, I will say on the form, don't ask for every piece of information, right? Like, let's just get the key pieces of information that we need. And
Mm.
then, I mean, if you want to offer some other fields that are optional, but don't force them to put their phone, their this, their that. You're going to lose people right away. The simpler you can make it, the better.
Yeah, just name, full name, email address is, I guess, is
Right,
enough.
right,
Yeah.
right. Absolutely. Sweet.
So, who participates in the user journey?
That's a good question. I think there's three teams that you have to have. You have to have marketing, you have to have customer support, and you have to have the UX team. And I would almost say start with the UI UX people first,
Hmm.
because they have a way of solving problems, customer frustrations, where bottlenecks are. They can kind of root that out. And I wouldn't bring everyone to the table at the first at the onset either. I would kind of do it incrementally so that you can build on things. Otherwise, you're going to have everybody looking out for their stakeholders, like, oh, I need this, I need this. But probably the most important thing is the voice of the customer, right? You have to understand who your ideal customer is, right? This is what this is all about. And the best place to get that is your frontline reps. Get to them. They're talking to these people. They know the good ones and they know the bad ones. So talk to them and get that persona of what that ideal customer looks like, and they'll be able to give you all of their uh, attributes so that you can really start building out that journey map.
Yeah, definitely. What are also the benefits, like the benefits of a customer journey map?
Yeah, so I think the biggest benefit is grow a customer centric culture, right? If you can adopt a customer oriented, outside in perspective, it's going to help you to prioritize your activities. It's that's going to allow you to make an impact on the customer and the business when everybody's sort of marching in that same direction. You'll have improved collaborations and alignment within the organization. So I think you'll be able to implement CX initiatives and other things with so much more confidence and more quickly when everybody's looking towards the customer. If you look towards the customer and that's the priority, then everything else will have to fall behind that, and it gets easy. If everybody's looking at, if one person's looking at just the bottom line, or one person's looking about the infrastructure, you're crossing signals. So you got to get everybody marching towards the customer centric culture.
Yeah, definitely. What separates customer journey mapping between B2B and B2C companies?
Well, B2B, stating the obvious, is a business or for professional use. So typically, you need to solve multiple problems for different people there, right? If you're selling a CRM or you have a payment system or something like that, there's multiple people within the organization that you're solving problems for. But when we look at B2C, that's a personal thing, right? I'm buying an appliance, or I'm looking for a restaurant. You're solving pretty much one problem, right? So right there, you have the difference. B2B is going to have multiple characters that you have to think about, different personas, where B2C, you should really only be looking towards that one, persona. And, you may have that for different products, may have different personas, but as you look at it, it should really be based around that one persona.
So we were talking about like user experience. Some companies who are just startups and they think that we can just purchase a theme which is already made and we just copy and paste our content there. We just write our content and just okay, let's go with it. And
Mm-hmm.
some of the businesses have a thinking that they should create their own website. They properly UI UX designed website, and
Mm-hmm.
then they put their content on the website. So what's the difference and what's the better approach?
Well, again, I hate to keep strumming the same chord here, but you got to test stuff, right? And this may be getting a customer focus group so that you can get some trusted people that know you and you know them, and you can get in front of them and say, hey, what looks better here? And things
Mm.
are pretty flexible nowadays, so you should be able to take some really nice templates and massage them to have your brand colors and your brand feel, so that you don't have to do all the heavy lifting. But again, if you're noticing that the navigation and the user experience is not performing well on that template, then maybe you need to do some customization to it, or maybe you need to go with a different solution.
Yeah, absolutely. So what information is required to create a journey map?
Yeah, so research and analytics, that's where it all starts. You really have to kind of dig into where you're at currently. Um, and I think the first thing is really creating those customer personas. And what I would suggest is you need to really focus in on the different touch points of the customer. What devices, where are they interacting with the brand? Because you may have to tweak things a little bit depending upon what that interaction is. And then, as I said before, I think, workshopping it, getting a group together, a focus group, and running this through them. And then you need to, through that process, identify and address their pain points, right? If you can really dig in and get the customer pain points, then you got to monitor that, get some feedback, and then just rinse and repeat. You got to go back to the beginning and say, okay, what did we learn through that process? How do we need to change this? And kind of do that a couple of times until you're confident that the feedback you're getting is right.
Yeah, what about the content ideas? Where do you get the content ideas regarding to your industry or
So we, with our industry, we work a lot directly with the customers. We will work from their websites and what current promotions and what current investments that they're making. But for content generation in general, I know a lot of people struggle with this. They're
mm,
looking at, where do I write a blog? How do I get some ideas? There's a great website, Answer the Public, where you can type in your industry. You can get pretty specific, or you can be very broad, and it will give you a bunch of questions that people have around that topic. And through that process, very much like BuzzSumo and some of these other things out there. But there are a lot of really great tools to be able to find content and what people are thinking about within that subject matter.
yeah, you can also use Quora. Like it's also a
Quora,
question and
yeah,
yeah, Quora. Like it's also a question and answers social media platform where
yep,
people
yep.
comes and ask questions and you answer them. But that is also very good for content ideas if you want.
Yeah, and I always like going back to the customer. Call your customer. People don't use the phone anymore, so pick up the phone, have a conversation with your customer, and pick their brains a little bit. Say, hey, I have a couple ideas and I'm kicking around. Which one resonates more with you? And then you might be surprised. They may say, oh, I actually like C better than A. So customers always getting their feedback is the best.
Yeah, absolutely. So, what about adding audio and digital marketing to enhance customer satisfaction and reduce handling and wait times?
Yeah. So with audio, for us, I think it's low hanging fruit for a lot of people. I don't think they realize, especially when we look at like the contact center or even social media and whatnot. Um, Having professional audio or clean audio, I would say, it doesn't even have to be professional, but it should sound clean. There shouldn't be any, it shouldn't be overly accented or unprofessional, so that when you get so much trust built when someone calls your organization, that's your front door, right? That's their first impression. So if they're hearing that you have that well designed IVR auto attendant and it's done professionally and it's well thought out, there's an immediate boost of confidence and trust with the brand. And if you could take it a step further, if it's applicable and you have you can do localization and provide information in people's native languages or dialects. That's huge. That's huge, right? Because people are like, wow, they understand that my culture is part of their brand and they're catering to me. But for us, I would say that it starts with the IVR. That's your first line of defense. And we say defense because if you optimize it well, you can use the IVR to deflect calls so they don't even get into the call center because you're sending them to other self service places, other self service tools that can help them. And you're going to raise your CSAT there because they're going to be so happy that they didn't have to wait on hold and they didn't have to talk to a rep and then get sent to another rep. You get them out of the IVR. Um, but go ahead.
Yeah. So, AI, artificial intelligence, also play a big role in digital marketing. So, creating AI generated content.
Hmm.
So, what do you think about that?
I mean, I think you got to be careful. It's still a little bit new, but I think it's a great tool to jumpstart. You can there's I've seen some really powerful things where you can put in some simple thoughts and it will extrapolate into much deeper ideas. But I think we still need that human element. You still need to have the nuances to bring to it from your point of view, your USP, why your brand is different. The AI is going out and it's grabbing a lot of somewhat generic content. So when we talk about content being king, you need to make sure that it's still resonating with people, right? And it's still on point for your products, your services. So great tool. We AI for us comes within the virtual IVR, which is very cool. It can easily take calls from the voice channel and move it into a digital channel. Um, Poly AI has a great tool that is so efficient at determining intent up front. It just asks an open ask question like, "How can I help you today?" instead of serving up all these different options. So I think we're just beginning to see how powerful AI is. Um, AI for the reps as well. They can now listen to the reps and give them real time coaching that they sound too negative or they need to slow down, which is it's just kind of amazing to me how these tools are working themselves into the contact center.
Yeah, adding to that, Jasper is also a very good tool. It gives you a
Yes.
lot of options that you can write AI
Yeah.
generated content. You just have to give your category.
Absolutely. Jasper's really it's probably one of the most powerful ones out there.
Yeah, definitely. So, as you also are a young entrepreneur, a mentor, so what can you tell about this?
Yeah, it's I love working with young people. It's they're so fresh and they come to things with a different point of view. So it keeps me thinking, keeps me questioning. But sometimes they don't understand the basic things that they need to understand as a new entrepreneur. They think they can just do whatever. And sometimes that's good, and it's like, oh, there are no rules. I'm just going to do whatever. But then, it's like, well, you need some basic business elements that you need to bring to this. So I enjoy their energy. I will give a shout out to a new website, a new platform actually called ThinkUp that I recently got early access to, and they are working with young entrepreneurs and startups, and they're creating a platform where these folks can work together to get their product launched, and it takes them through stages, and they have to pass certification within each stage before they can move on to the next stage. And it pairs them up with other collaborators and developers and mentors. But it's a great tool. It's thinkup.global. It's if you're a startup or a young entrepreneur, I would highly suggest checking that out.
Yeah, if you're a startup, like you can also social media is also a part of a company's marketing strategy.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Should be kept in mind. Yeah. So, what points, Andrew, that you noticed that the new entrepreneurs are facing to achieve the goals that they have set in life?
Yeah, I think the young entrepreneurs don't know what they don't know, and they need mentorship to kind of slow them down a little bit, because a lot of really good products don't make it because they're working in the business. I think probably the biggest advice I can give to young entrepreneurs is hire somebody to do it. If you have the money, don't try and do it all yourself. Right? There's a the famous saying that you don't want to be the smartest person in the room. You want other smarter people around you. You want to surround yourselves with people that are a lot smarter than you, because that's going to ultimately create the best success for the brand and for the product and the service. So that would be my big advice.
Okay, s- definitely. So, what the young entrepreneurs that you have given advice. So, what about the people who are coming to the digital marketing department, digital marketing field? What advice would you give them?
I would say that digital marketing is changing rapidly. There are a lot of AI tools. Um, I would say get up to speed on it. There's a lot of tools out there to help you to do a lot of the heavy lifting for you. We talked about some of them today, but there's a ton of them in design, things to help you with color palettes and the way to lay out ads and pages. Lots of templates that have the AI is it's just crunching numbers of things that have been successful and spitting back formulas that work well. So why not use those instead of starting with a blank canvas?
Okay, that was. Thank you so much, Andrew, for coming us for joining us with this. So, uh, thank you everyone for watching TransData's Tech Podcast, and I hope you enjoyed our conversation. So, thank you so much, Andrew, for coming,
Happy
for
to
being
be
with
here.
us.
Thanks for having me on here. If anybody has any questions or anything else, you can find me on LinkedIn, and I'd be happy to answer them.
Definitely. So, I hope you everybody all enjoyed our session, and next week we will be coming back with another episode. So, take care, bye bye, and have a great weekend.
Thanks, man.